All right, so we're recording now. And then what I wanted to do was ask you guys, what questions did you have for me out of the review? Like, which ones have you been working on and you're like, you know what, I keep getting stuck on this one here, or I keep getting stuck on that one. That's really what the whole purpose of tonight was, right? We're not going to say, okay, you know what, let's go through 1 through 30. That's not a review session, right? Review session means, you know, you've been working on it, and then these are ones you guys are stuck on, and we go through those. So guys, don't be shy. I'm here to help you guys. Ask me, anybody. You don't be shy about being the first person to ask. You're going to get the first question answered.
Sir, I
Anyone?
have a question.
Ask me. Okay, tell me.
It's about the weighted mean on the review. I kind of
Do you
don't
know?
understand it.
Okay, so let me see if I
The
can
formula
find that.
sheet. Sorry.
Okay, but I'm trying to see if I can find that problem that has the weighted mean, and then we can do it. So let me see if I can find one that has weighted mean. Let's see. Weighted mean. No, I must have passed it. Let's see. Let me see if I can find it here. Looking at my formula sheet, yeah, weighted mean, I see it there. I'm just trying to find the problem that uses the weighted mean. Let's see, it's not that. And it's not this. And it's not this. And it's not this. Here we go. Okay. So 21 is basically going to be the problem that's going to use the weighted mean. Okay. So I'm going to pull up the formula sheet again so you guys can see it. So let me see. Okay, so let me stop sharing this, and then let me share the formula sheet one more time with you guys. And let's see. Here we go, formula sheet. Okay, so guys, weighted mean, if you can see, it is right here. There's my formula for weighted mean, right? And so I'm going to show you guys how that formula is going to apply for the problem that we're going to do right now, which is number 21. Okay, so let me get rid of this piece right here, and I'm going to close up the formula sheet, and I'm going to go back to the problem that we were looking at. So let me get this going one more time, and here we go. Okay, so number 21 says a student receives test scores of 62, 83, and 91. The student's final exam is 88, and homework score is 76. Each test is worth 20% of the final grade, and the final exam is worth 25% of the final grade. And the homework grade is 15% of the final grade. What is the student's final grade in the class? Okay, so the way I'm going to do this, it says, so here are each of my test scores, right? 62, 83, 91. And it tells me that each test is worth 20% of the grade. Okay, so the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to put test 1, test 2, test 3, right? And test 1, they got a 62. Test 2, they got an 83. Test 3, they got a 91. Okay, and then we have the final exam. And the final exam was an 88. And then we have the homework. And the homework grade was a 76. Okay, and then it says each test is worth 20% of the grade. So here we're going to put the weights. Okay, so the first test is 20%. So as a decimal, it's 0.20 for the first 3 tests. And then it says the final exam is 25% of the grade. So this is 0.25. Let's see. And then the homework grade is 15% of the grade. So this is 0.15. And then now what we're going to do, guys, we're just going to multiply straight across, okay? So I'm just going to do this on my calculator here. So let me get my calculator going. All right. So I'm taking 62 times 0.20. That's given me a 12.4. Let's see, 83 times 0.20. That's given me a 16.6. 91 times 0.20. This has given me an 18.2. The final exam is 88 times 0.25. That's given me the number 22. And then finally 76 times 0.15. That's given me, oops, let me get my pen going. Sometimes it freezes on me, guys. 11.4. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take these numbers here, and remember how we got those numbers? We did a multiplication, right? So we took each of these numbers here and multiplied them each by their weights. That's why there's that little X times W. And then this funny looking E means to add them up. So I'm going to take those numbers and start adding them up. So 11.4 plus 22 plus 18.2 plus 16.6 plus 12.4 gave me an 80.6, right? And then in the formula, on the weighted mean in the formula, it says that this average here, it also has to be divided by the sum of the weights. And what I mean by the sum of the weights is if I take these percentages and I add them up, 0.20, 0.20, another 0.20, a 0.25, 0.15, the number that we come up with actually, guys, is 1, because it's 100%, right? So when you take 80.6 and divide it by 1, we're still going to get 80.6, right? So then when I come over here and I look at my choices, which is my choice going to be? Oh, we're going to say my answer is going to be C, right? And in essence, that's how the weighted mean formula basically works, okay? So the nice thing about a problem like this is that because we're dealing with like grades, when you add up all the percentages, those percentages are always going to add up to 1 or 100%, okay? So whenever you take these numbers here and multiply them and then add them all up, that's going to be your average. So does that make sense a little bit for that weighted mean formula? Whoever had asked me that one? Are we good on how we did that one? All right, guys, any other questions? Anybody have any questions for me? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come back to the formula, the review, and I'm going to scroll back up to the top.
Hi.
And hello. So did anybody, I want to kind of go through, you know, like, did anybody have any questions, like say problems 1, 2, or 3?
I have a general question.
Yes, ma'am.
Are we gonna be able to use a calculator? Because the one I got was an app from my phone.
Yeah, definitely. And if you notice, if you look in the information that I send you guys, I'm telling you guys, use that same app that I'm using. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You're good, you're good. Guys, anybody got any questions, 1, 2, or 3? Are we good?
Yes.
So I will send you guys, because somebody's asking, what is the app? I will send you guys I'm going to send it to you guys. I'm going to send it both on Pronto and Remind. So here's the app I use. So let me pull up the picture so you guys can see it. Where is it? Here we go. Okay.
I had a quick question. I haven't been able to find where you sent the review to.
The review's in my math lab.
Oh, it's in my math lab. Okay, I'm sorry. It's because I'm
Yeah.
following through on the iPad while you're going through it. So
Yeah. No, it's on my lab and mastering.
thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see. So guys, I'm sending I just sent it through Pronto and I'm sending it through Remind. Here we go. And okay, it's been sent. So guys, that calculator app that I use, it's free. You can, if you have an Android, it's you're gonna find it in the Google Play Store. If you got an iPhone, or iPad or whatever. It'll be on the App Store, completely free. So, so there's now y'all have that info. So let me get back to the review. Anybody have any questions for problems like say 4 through 8? I'm kind of making the review small. I'm just trying to get all the problems on the same page so we can see it. But again, so guys, remember the whole point is I'm going to be answering questions that you've already tried, you got stuck on. So did anybody have any questions from problems 4 through 8?
Sir,
Yes, ma'am.
at the very top, like for example, number 1, I've been having trouble with those.
Okay, so let's go back to number 1. Okay, and so number 1 here says, determine whether the data set is a population or a sample. And it says the ages of 3 families of people in an apartment complex hosting 10 families. Okay, so give me one quick second. I'm gonna pull something up for you guys. Let's see. So, okay, so let me stop sharing this and I'm gonna share one more thing with you guys here. Okay, so guys, all I did here is I just pulled up the notes from chapters 1 and 2. And so I want you to notice something here. It says a population is a collection of all of the outcomes, and a sample is a subset or part of the population, right? So population means all of them, and a sample means just some of them, right? So now if I come back to my review and I look at my first problem here, it says we're looking at the ages of 3 families of people in an apartment building that holds how many?
10.
That holds 10. So are we looking at everybody or we're only looking at some of them?
Some of them.
Very good. We're only looking at some of them. That's right. So guys, this is now going to be a sample. So now we have to figure out, okay, there's 2 choices that have sample, right? I can either choose choice B or I can choose choice C. I just got to figure out which is the right one. So B says a sample because a collection of agencies for 3 families of people is a subset of all the people living in the building. And then D says a sample because it's a collection of ages of all the people, but it's not all the people in the building, right? It's only 3 of those families. So my answer here would be B. Very good, very good. All right, any other questions here, guys? What about problems like, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, anything through there?
Slow down.
I'm trying to slow, yeah. I'm just scrolling. Any questions, guys?
Can you do number 4?
Number 4 says, determine whether the underlined number represents a population parameter or a sample statistic. And number 4, so let me zoom in on number 4, says a survey of 2,210 adults in a country found that 77% think that militant terrorists are a major threat to the well-being of others in their country. Okay, so it says a survey of 2,210 adults in a country found that 77% think that militant terrorists are a major threat to the well-being of their country. Okay, so now we got to figure out, how do I know if this is a parameter or how do I know if this is a statistic? Okay, so look, I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to stop sharing this piece here and I'm going to come back and I'm going to pull up the notes that we had again. Okay, so now I'm going to just scroll a little bit more. Okay, so here's my definitions of parameters and here's my definitions of statistics. So it says a parameter is a numerical description of a population characteristic, and a statistic is a numerical description of a sample characteristic. Okay, so remember what we said. Population refers to all of the people, and a sample refers to some of them, right? Okay, so now I'm going to come back and I'm going to look at the problem that we were dealing with. Okay. All right, so a survey of 2,200 adults in the country found that 77% think that militant terrorists are a major threat to the well-being of their country. Okay, so is this a sample statistic? Because it's in, so remember, sample means it's going to be for some of the people. And this one says for, look at the word here, for all. So I know that sample is not for all. So I already know that choice A is not a good choice because sample is for some, not for all. So then choice B says it's a sample statistic because it describes the people in a sample, which is a subset of all the people in the country. So it could be B because that is what a sample is. Now I'm going to go to choice C. The number is a population parameter because it describes the people in a sample, which is a subset. No, population is not a sample. Population is for everybody, right? So I know it can't be this one, so no C. And then it says the number is a population parameter because it's a numerical description of all the people in the country, okay? All right, so now I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna look at my problem, right? A survey of 2,200 adults in the country found that 77% think that the militant terrorists are a major threat to the well-being of their country. Okay, so I have two choices now, guys. It's either going to be B or it's going to be D. Do you think these are all the people in the country? The 2,200, the 2,200 adults? Do you think they
No.
surveyed everybody? Yeah, they didn't survey everybody. So it's going to be a sample statistic because it describes people in a sample, which is a subset of all the people in the country, right? So they go to this country and they asked 2,210 people, right? So we know we're only getting some of the, we're only surveying some of those people. That's why it's going to be a sample statistic, right? Good, good, good. Excellent. Anybody else have any questions that are on your mind that you want to ask me?
Sir, it's
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just couldn't hear you. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Sorry. It's not like about like the review. It's a. Can we write on the formula sheet
Yeah,
so we
that's
can
your
have a better
formula sheet.
understanding?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Good
Thank you.
question. You're welcome. So guys, the formula sheet is going to be in the week 8 folder. It'll be in the week 7 folder, and it'll be in the announcement that I just sent you guys last night.
Oh, okay.
And then, so guys, when you get the formula sheet, so let me, I'm gonna write it right here. Formula sheet, week 7 and 8 folder, and the last announcement. And then the one thing I want to make sure when you get it, make sure when you hit the little 3 dots, click on download original file, because if you don't click on download original file, it's going to be all garbled and it's not going to look like the formula sheet that I've been sharing with you guys on the screen. Okay. So guys, the one thing I did want to mention, remember, formula sheet, it's your formula sheet. So guys, I actually have another statistic class, but it's a little bit different from this one. This one, if you notice, we have the 2 different courses, right? We had the stuff that we did, like the more basic math review that we did that in the beginning. That other class did not have it. So they're a little bit ahead of us. And so they tested last week, and I'm going to tell you guys the same thing I told them. The formula sheet, if you have a printer and you want to print out an actual paper of it, that's fine. If you just want to have it open and on your computer, that's fine. It's your formula sheet, okay? Use it as you need to, but it's your formula sheet, okay? There's no rule like you have to have it printed out on a paper, or you can only have it on your computer. You can do with it as you need, okay? So good questions, good questions. Any other questions anybody wants to ask me out of the review?
There's one
Is
of
the
the
test
formula
due
sheet.
tomorrow?
I'm sorry? I'm sorry, what was the question about the test?
Is the test due tomorrow?
The test is tomorrow.
Is it a time
So
test?
it is a time test, and that's so I'm going to give you guys. So look, let's do the review stuff first, and then we'll worry about the tests. So Ethan, are we able to use the notes? No notes, just your formula sheet.
Hey, I'm
Okay.
so sorry. I'm still not able to get to the review. Like, I'm trying to follow through with what you're doing, but I want to write over on my iPad, and I can't find it.
Okay, so I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to share. Let me see.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys so you can see what I'm referring to. Let me go here. Let me go here. Let me go here. Okay, so, okay, you can see this part, right? You can see y'all can see as part of the screen. Okay, so what you're going to do is I'm on our main page. You're going to click on the My Lab and Mastering. And let me stop sharing this part real quick. And I'm going to share one more thing with you guys. Here we go. Assignments. And let me see. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down right here and I'm going to click on Review for Test 1. And these are the problems.
Thank you so much. I got it.
You're welcome. So you're good. You're welcome so much. Okay, so let me stop sharing this and let me get back to the review. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, so I think we are back on, yeah, we're back on the review. Okay, so let's see. Any questions anybody wants to ask me? I know somebody was going to ask me something earlier. I thought I heard somebody say something.
Yeah, it was me. It was about the percentile of X, the formula. I kind of like just want like I think I need to see the problem like in order to understand it.
Okay, so I'll tell you what, because that problem is a little further down in the review.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody have any questions about, like, say, oh, I don't know, 13, 14, 15, anything like that? Anybody got any questions here? We'll get to that question, but otherwise we'll be jumping like back and forth a whole lot. You know what I mean?
$13.
13. Okay, so 13 says use the given minimum and maximum data entries, the number of classes to find the class width, the lower class limits, and the upper class limits. Okay, so guys, first thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to share with you guys one more time the information here. So these are, again, these are just my notes, right? The same notes that I'm working out the problems on the videos, guys. And I'm just going to scroll down. I'm going to scroll a little fast. But you guys have all these notes. And here we go. I think let me kind of scroll a little bit more. And here we go. This is what I'm looking for. Okay. So right here, guys, this is the part that I'm looking at. It says constructing a frequency distribution from a set. It says decide on the number of classes. Our classes should be between 5 and 20. And then it says, here we go. This is how we're going to find the class width. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to find the range. So again, just to give you a heads up, the range says take the max number, subtract the min number. And then we're going to take that number and we're going to divide it by the number of classes. This is the part that's real important. It says we're going to round up to the next convenient number, okay? So I'm going to stop sharing this. I'm going to come back here. And let's see. Yes, we're back in business. Okay. So first thing we got to do here, guys, we got to find the range. So remember, the range says we're going to take the max number. We're going to subtract the minimum number. Okay, so my maximum number in this case is 88. Oops. So we're going to take, 88 minus the minimum number is 9. And 88 minus 9 should be something like 79. Okay. Now, we're going to take the range and we're going to divide it by the number of classes. So I'm going to take 79, and we have 7 classes. Okay. So 79 goes into, or 7 goes into 79. I'm just going to take my calculator real quick, guys. Oops. 79 divided by 7 is, okay, 11.285, whatever, 7, all that kind of stuff. Okay, the directions say the way we're going to find our class width, once we get this number here, we're going to take that number and we're going to round it up. So even though it's 11.28, my class width is going to be 12. It doesn't matter if I come up with 11.2 or 11.3 or if I come up with 11.9. The directions say you always got to round it up. Okay, we always got to round it up. Okay, now I'm going to find my lower class limits and we're going to find our upper class limits. Okay, so the easier way for me to do this here is, if you remember what our minimum number was, my minimum number was 9. So I'm going to write my classes here. Okay, so the first one was 9. Since my class width is 12, I'm going to just start adding 12 to that number 9. So 9 and 12 gives me 21. And if I add another 12, that's going to give me 33, right? So let me make sure I'm doing that right. 9 plus 12, yep, 21 plus 12, yep, 33. Add another 12, that's going to give me 45. If I add another 12, that's going to give me 57. And remember, because we're going to have 7 classes, I got to make sure that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I add another 12, that's going to give me 69. And if I add another 12, that should give me, what is it, 81 maybe? Yeah, 81. Okay. So here are my lower classes, right? Those are my lower class limits. And there should be 7 numbers there, right? Now, excuse me. Now, the way I'm going to find my upper class limits. So my upper class limits, think about it this way. If this number here was 21, the number right before 21 would have been 20. If this number here was 33, well, the number right before 33 would have been 32. Remember what we said our class width was? It was 12. Look, if I start adding 12 to these numbers, 44, add 12 again, 56, add 12 again, 68, add 12 again, 80, and add 12 again, 92. And so those are my upper class limits, right? Now it's telling me to, yes, ma'am.
The last upper class limit, you always add 12 or you use the last number?
Yeah. No, I'm still adding 12. So very good question. If you notice from here to here, all we're doing each time is we're adding 12. Very good. Excellent question. So guys, now what I'm going to do, because it's telling me for this part here, it's telling me, can we put the lower class limits? So yeah, all I'm going to do is I'm going to copy these numbers here. I'm going to put 9, 21, 33, 45, 57, 69, and 81. And then for my upper class limits, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put 20, 32, 44, 56, 68, 80, and 92. And that's how I would do number 13. So guys, the one thing I wanted to mention, I told you all this earlier, is that the questions that you see tomorrow are going to be the same exact questions. The only thing that's going to be different are the numbers, right? So tomorrow, when you're doing your test, if this problem is on your test, I'm not saying that it is, but if it was on your problem on the test, what's going to change? Those three numbers. But it doesn't matter what the numbers are, because if I know how to find my range, which is taking the biggest number minus the smallest number, and then dividing it by the number of classes, and no matter what number I get, I'm always going to round which way? Anybody know which way do we round?
Up.
There you go. Boom. Always going to round up, guys. Every single time. You come up with 10.0003, it's 11. You come up with 10.98, it's 11, right? You always got to round up. It doesn't matter what number you get. You're always going to round it to the next whole number. And then once we find that class width, then remember what we're doing. Then the first thing we said is, let's take that smallest number and let's write it down. And let's start adding this number to it. How many times am I going to do it? However many classes I had. That's why we did that 7 times, right? And then do the same thing for this part right here. And the thing is, if you're trying to figure out what is this number going to be, it's always one less than that one right there, right? So very good question. I'm glad somebody asked me number 13, because I think it was a good question to do. Any other questions anybody wants to ask me about?
We'll be able to use paper, like,
Yeah.
to work it out.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Very good question. Any other questions anybody has about anything?
Hold on, I'm looking at my notes. Hold on.
Okay.
Sir,
Yes, ma'am.
sir, can I ask another question?
Of course.
How is, like, the test going to work? Like I know you said it's gonna be Microsoft Teams.
Uh-huh.
How exactly, like, will we be able to to do
I
it?
know you're anxious about it, so I'm gonna show you right now. Let's see. So look, this is what we're gonna do. Okay, so I want to say that you guys can see my screen right here. Yeah, you can, because I can see it too. So if you notice right here at the top, do you see how there's 2 links? One of them says test 1, math 1442, session 1, Wednesday morning, March 10th at 10 a.m. And this one is at 6:30. So remember, you were supposed to sign up on the Excel sheet that I sent out. If you didn't sign up yet, do it tonight. Do it tomorrow before you take your test. What you're going to do is you're going to click on one of those links. Now, if you notice here on my page, and this is my instructor page, so I don't know if yours looks exactly the same, but if you try to click on it right now, it's not going to let you do anything, because it is not time for the test, right? This is for tomorrow. Guys, I did set it up so that you can sign in, before 10 a.m. I mean, if you try to sign in at 8 in the morning, it's not going to let you. But if you sign in, like 9:50 or something like that, you'll be good. Or if you're taking it tomorrow at 6:30, you sign in at 6:15, that'll be fine, right?
So we sign up in what time we're gonna do.
That's right. So that's why I sent you guys that spreadsheet. If you're looking for the spreadsheet, go to those same, either week 7, week 8, look at the announcement. There's a formula sheet. There's a sign-in sheet there. You click on the link, it opens up a spreadsheet. You just type your name where I told you to type it, right? Whichever one you want to do. So guys, you're going to click on that link. I'm pretty confident everybody here has used Zoom at least once. This is almost identical to Zoom, okay? And it's going to work the same way, in that you're going to have your camera on so that I can see you. You don't have to have your mics on, and I'm actually, tomorrow when we're doing this, I'm going to mute all the mics. Once we get started, I mean, if you got questions, you can ask me and stuff, but once we get started, I'm going to mute all the mics. I'm going to have my mic off too, so that if the doorbell rings or if the dog starts barking, it doesn't disturb everybody. But that's basically how the test is going to work. It's identical to Zoom. It's just through Microsoft. You don't have to download anything. The only thing I will say, I don't know if anybody is going to be using like a MacBook or something like that. If you are using a MacBook, instead of using Safari as your browser, I will tell you to either use Google Chrome or to use Firefox as your web browser. But that's basically how the test is going to work tomorrow, and I'll give you guys more instructions. I'm going to send you guys a little sheet tonight that's going to have some instructions. I'll send that to you guys, and I'll send it again through announcements on Blackboard. I'll send it to you guys on Pronto. I'll send it to you guys on Remind, okay? You just got to read it. Okay, so let me get out of here, and let me get back to the review.
Professor,
Okay, yes, ma'am.
can you do something on the frequency distribution? A problem with those?
You know I can. Let's do number 14. I'll tell you what. Let's do number 14. Let's do number 14 here. Okay, so number 14 says use the given frequency distribution to find A, the class width, B, the class midpoints, and C, the class boundaries. Okay, so let me get my pen going here. And it's asking me, let's see, the first part is asking me, can we find the class width? Oops. Can we find the class width? So guys, think about this. We just did this. We figured out how to find the class width a little while ago, right? When we did this problem, if I did not have this information, but I had this piece here, remember how we got from each of those numbers? We were adding the 12, right? So if I wanted to know what's the difference, right? If I said, look, if I subtract those numbers, that's telling me my class width is going to be 12. So I'm going to come back to this problem here. And if I say, look, how did I get, say, from 35 to 39? How much did I have to add from 35 to get to 39? Anybody know? Anybody know how much did you have to add to 35 to get to 39? Yeah, we had to add 4, right? Cool. Okay, so right here, what's my class width? We're going to put the number 4. Excellent. Okay, now we're going to find our midpoints. And I know some of you guys were putting the answer in the chat. And if I click on it, let's see, yes, 4. There you go. Excellent. So now, if I'm going to find the midpoint, the way I'm going to find the midpoint, guys, is for each of these intervals. So say for the first one, I'm going to take the numbers 35, I'm going to add 38, and I'm going to find their average. I'm going to add them together and divide by 2. So 35 plus 38 should give me something like 75 and 8, 73 divided by 2. And I'm just going to take my calculator, guys. I'm just using my plain Jane calculator here because this is just basic math, right? 35 plus 38, 73 divided by 2 is giving me 36.5. Okay, 36.5. All right. So what that tells me is that my midpoint right here is 36.5. Now, if I want to find the midpoint for this one, I can do the same thing. I can say, look, let's take 39 plus 42 and divide it by 2. So 39 plus 42 is 81. Oops. 81, and I'm going to divide it by 2. So 81 divided by 2, this is giving me 40.5. Okay. Now, if you remember, guys, we said our class width was the number 4. So when we added 4, when we kept adding 4 to each of those, that's how we would come up with the next number. Well, notice if I take 36.5 and I add 4, I get 40.5. So I can keep playing that same game here. Look, this is 44.5. This is 48.5. This is 52.5. This is 56.5. And that is 60.5, right? And you can always double check. You can say, like, really, is that going to work? Is it always going to work like that? Yeah, look, let's take the last one here. Let's take 59 and 62. So 59 plus 62 is 121. And if I divide that number by 2, yep, I get 60.5. So far, are we doing okay on finding the midpoint?
Yes.
Yeah, we're good? Okay. So guys, now I'm going to show you guys on how to find the class boundary. So I'm going to stop sharing this piece right here because I want to share one more piece with you guys. Let's see. Coming back to the notes. Let me see. Oops. Okay. So I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to look for my class boundaries. Okay. So right here, class boundaries are the numbers that separate the classes without forming gaps. Okay, it says for the data that are integers, we're going to subtract 0.5 from each limit to find the lower class boundaries, and to find the upper class boundaries, we're going to add 0.5 to each limit. Okay, so I'm going to take 0.5 from each of the lower limits, and I'm going to subtract them, and I'm going to add 0.5 to each of the upper limits. So let me stop sharing this piece here, and let me come back to this one here. Okay, so my lower class boundaries, if this is 35, think about it in terms of money. If I had $35 and I lent you 50 cents, how much money do I have now? Anybody know? If I had $35 and I lent you 50 cents, how much money am I left with?
34.5.
There you go. You got it. 34.5. I'm going to do that for each of these numbers. So now this is 38.5. This is 42.5. This is 46.5. This is 50.5. This is 54.5. And this is 58.5. Okay. And now what I'm going to do to find the upper limits, it says add 50 cents to each of those numbers. So this is now going to be, let's see. Let me make sure that I'm doing this right. Yes. 38.5, 42.5, 46.5, 50.5, 54.5, 58.5, and add another 50 cents there, 62.5. And those are our class boundaries. Okay. Good question, good question. All right. Anybody else have any questions about any problems on the review that you want me to go through? Let's see, I heard something in the chat. Let's see, where did I get the -5? Let me show you one more time. So, share the screen, here we go, and here we go. Okay, so right here, these are my notes, guys. These are chapter 2, and it says right here, class boundaries, subtract 0.5 from each of the lower limits to find the lower class. And to find the upper class boundaries, add 0.5 to each of the upper limits. So that's where I came up with that 0.5, right? And it says, look, the upper boundary of a class will equal the lower boundary of the next higher class. So that's why those numbers were overlapping, right? Good question, good question. All right, somebody had a question also about number, let's see, you're welcome, number 26. So Erica, I'm gonna get to 26. Before I get to 26, because I kind of want to go in order so that we're not kind of jumping around. Does anybody have any questions between, but I will get to 26. Anybody have any questions between 15 and 26?
Did you do one with the stem and leaf?
Yeah, let me see if we can find one like that. Stem and leaf. Stem and leaf. Stem and leaf. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, so number 19, and I'm going to see if somebody put something in the chat because I heard something pop there. Number 15. Okay, so you know what? Before I do number 19, let's do number 15, and this way we're kind of going in order. But we will get to number 19. Okay, so let's see. Number 15 says use the frequency distribution shown to construct an expanded frequency distribution. Okay, so let's see. First thing we're going to do here, guys, we're going to find our midpoint, right? Okay, so remember, we know how to find the midpoint, right? We're going to take those two numbers there, 17 plus 27. That's going to give me 44. We're going to cut it in half, and that should give me 22. So this number here is going to be 22. Now, does anybody know what is my class width? Anybody know what my class width is?
Is it 11?
It is 11. Very good. Excellent. And you got 11 by just subtracting, right? 28 minus 17 gave us 11. Excellent. So guys, remember what we're going to do now? We're going to add 11 to this number here. That's going to give me 33, 44, 55, 66, 77, and 88, right? Okay. And let's see, I think yep, Erica told me that in the chat too. Thank you, Erica, for giving me 11. Okay, now we're going to find our relative frequency. Okay, so guys, the way we're going to find the relative frequency, the first thing I need to do, I need to take all those numbers right there, and I got to add them up. Okay, so I'm going to take my calculator, 17 plus 45 plus 66 plus 67 plus 82 plus 66 plus 22. Okay, so when I added these numbers here, when I added all these numbers here, guys, I came up with 365. Okay, so now what my relative frequency is, it says take each of these numbers here and divide it by 365 and write it as a decimal. So the first number I'm going to do 22 divided by 365. And on my calculator, what I'm coming up with is something like 0.06027, that kind of thing. And the directions here are telling me rounded to the nearest hundredth. Excuse me, the hundredth position is my second decimal place. So right here, I'm just going to put 0.06, okay? And I'm going to do the same thing for every one of these things. Oops, let me see. You know what? Did I do that right? I didn't do that. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Oops. I think I looked at the wrong number. Yeah, sorry. Oops. Looked at the wrong number. Not my midpoint. Sorry, guys. Not my midpoint, my frequency. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong number here. So I got to take 17. Sorry. So I got to take 17 and divide it by 365. Okay. 17 divided by 365. And I'm coming up with 0.0465. Okay. And I got to go to the second decimal place. So I'm going to put a 0.05 right here. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing for 45. So I'm going to do 45 divided by 365. And I'm coming up with 0.123, so I'm just going to put 0.12. And I'm going to do the same thing for the next one, 66 divided by 365. I'm coming up with 0.180, so I'm just going to put 0.18. And I'm going to keep playing this game for every one of those numbers. Just be careful and don't make the same mistake I did. By using the midpoint, we got to use the frequency. And this is also 0.18. And then 82 divided by 365. And I'm coming up with 0.22. And then 86 divided by 365. And I'm coming up with 0.24. And then finally 22 divided by 365. and I'm coming up with 0.06. Okay, so there's my relative frequency. All right, now we're going to find our cumulative frequency. So the way I'm going to find my cumulative frequency, whatever number I have here is going to be the same number that I got right there. Now, this next number, we're going to start adding. We're going to add 17 and 45. So 17 plus 45 is 62. Then I'm going to add the next one. Plus 66 is 128. Then I'm going to add the next one. Plus 67 is 195. And then I'm going to add the next number. Plus 82 is 277. And then I'm going to add the next number. Plus 66 is 343. And then when we add the last number, 22, we're going to get 365. And there's my cumulative frequency. Very good. Did that make sense for number 15?
Yes.
Yeah, good, 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 good. Guys, any other questions anybody wants to ask me? Anything about 16, 19? I know 19 was one of them. Any other questions? Anything before I get to 19? Okay, so let's take a look at number 19. Okay, so number 19 says, use the stem and leaf plot to display the data, which represent the scores of a biology class on a midterm exam. Describe any patterns. Okay, so this piece right here is telling me, what do these numbers mean? So when I have a 3/3, that's telling me that's the same thing as the number 33. So I want you to notice we have scores in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, and in the 90s. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we put these numbers in order. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to look for grades in the 60s. So grades going up and down, no 60s, no 60s. Here's one, I got a 68. I got a 67. Let's see. It looks like we just have those two in the 60s. So I'm going to go like this, 67 and 68. That's what that means right there. When I'm putting the 7 and the 8, it means there's two grades in the 60s. One's a 67 and one's a 68. Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing for grades in the 70s. So I'm going to circle the ones that are in the 70s. I got a 75. I got another 75. We have a 76. And we have a 77. So I have two 75s. So I'm going to put a 5 here and another 5 here. And that takes care of those two. And then we have a 76. So I'm going to put a 6 right there. And we have a 77. So I'm going to put a 7 right there. Okay. Now, I'm going to do the same thing, but for grades in the 80s. So I'm going to start circling the numbers that I have in my 80s. I got an 86, an 85, I have an 80, an 87, an 82, an 88, and another 87, and an 85, and an 80. Okay, so what I want to start doing is putting these numbers in order. So we're going to go from the smallest to the biggest. I have an 80 here and another 80 here. So those are two 80s. Let me get rid of those. And then I don't think I have any 81s, but I do have an 82. So I'm going to put a 2 right here. Let's see, what other 80s do we have? We have an 85 right here. So I'm going to put a 5. And we have an 86. So I'm going to put a 6 right there. And then it looks like we have two 87s. 1, 2, 1, 2. I forgot a 79, didn't I? Over here. There's my 79. Okay. Oops. Okay, now let's do the 90s. So we got a 92, a 90, a 94. Let me see. I guess I already used that 85. I guess I just forgot to scratch it, so we'll scratch it. Let's see, a 91, a 90, a 95, another 91, and another 91. Okay, so let's put the smallest ones first. We got a 90. Let me scratch it. And then I have 1, 2, 3 91s. 1, 2, 3 91s. And then we have a 92. Ooh, I had another 90. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. I had a 92. And let's see, we had a 94. Put a 4 right here. And then we had a 95 right there. Okay. And so we got all our numbers down. And so now the next question says, which best describes the data? Choice A says most of the scores are in the 80s and 90s. Choice B says most of the scores are in the 70s and 80s. Choice C says most of the scores are the 60s and 70s. And choice D says the scores are evenly spread from the 60s to the 90s. What choice do you think best represents what we have here? Choice A, B, C, or D?
A.
A, right? Because most of the numbers are between the 80s and the 90s. Very good. Excellent. And you got it. Perfect. Good, good, good. Let's see. Any other questions anybody wants to ask me about the review? That was number 19. We did 21 already. Any other questions anybody has? Don't be shy. Anything?
Can you go to 28, sir?
Yes. You know what? Let's do 26 because somebody did ask me 26. So let's do 26 and then we'll do 28 because I know somebody in the chat had asked me 26. So let's do that one and then we'll definitely get to 28. Okay. So 26 here says the mean value of land and buildings per acre from a sample of farms is 1,700 with a standard deviation of 300. The data set has a bell-shaped distribution. Assume the number of farms in the sample is 71. Okay, so guys, I'm going to share the formula sheet with you guys because for this particular problem, I am going to use the formula sheet because it's going to come in pretty handy. Okay, so I want to say that, yes, you guys can see the formula sheet right here. Okay, so what I'm going to be using in terms of this problem is this piece right here. This kind of form that has the bell-shaped distribution. So just to give you a heads up, if you notice right here in the middle, we have the X bar. That X bar stands for my mean. And then if you notice, there's a plus S, and there's a plus 2S, and there's a plus 3S. That S stands for my standard deviation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this idea to do problem number 26. So let me come back to number 26 and pull up the problem so you can see what I'm referring to. And let's see. Okay, so I think you guys can see this now. And so the first thing I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to draw basically the same shape that we had on the formula sheet. So here's my picture, right? And if you remember in the middle, we had the number X bar. X bar refers to the average or the mean. And hold on, guys. Okay, so my mean in this case was 1,700. So I'm going to put a 1,700 right here. And then we had these kind of chunks, right, this way. And we're adding the standard deviation. This is the letter S for standard deviation. And in this case, my standard deviation is 300. So if I take 1,700 and I add 300, that's going to give me 2,000. This is going to give me 2,300. And this is going to give me 2,600. And then we're going to do the same thing over here, but we're going to start subtracting it. So if I take 1,700 and I subtract 300, that's going to give me 1,400. This will give me 1,100. And this will give me 800. And not only did we have that, but we had certain percentages. So these numbers here were 34%. Excuse me. And the other numbers were, this was 13.5%. 13.5%. And the last one I want to say was something like 2.35. So I'm going to put a 2.35% here and a 2.35% right there. Okay, so the reason why I'm doing that is because the problem, part A, says use the empirical rule to estimate the number of farms whose land and building values per acre are between 1,400 and 2,000. So I want you to notice here. Here's my 1,400, right? Here's my 2,000. If I take those two percentages and I add them together, 34 and another 34 is going to give me 68%, and it's 68% of the value. I'm sorry, the number of farms. And the number of farms is 71. So if you remember from like the basic math review that we did the first couple of weeks of the semester, 68%, I would write it as a decimal as 0.68. The word of means to multiply. So I'm going to take my calculator here, and I'm going to do 0.68 times 71. And the number that I'm coming up with is 48.28. And it says round to the nearest whole number. Now, guys, remember, this is slightly different from the class width. The class width said always round up. This one is just saying round to the nearest whole number. So the nearest whole number here is going to be 48. Okay. Now, part B says if we had 29 additional farms, how many of those would be between 1,400 and 2,000 per acre? Same percentages, 1,400 and 2,000 is still 68%. So now I'm just going to take 0.68 times 29. 0.68 times 29 is 19.72. And so if I round that to the nearest whole number, that's going to give me 20. Okay. So guys, this problem here, I'm glad that this question was asked, because I think it's a good problem. Like I told y'all before, the test tomorrow is going to be identical to this. The only thing that's going to change are the numbers, right? So in this case, the first thing I did is I drew my picture, right? Drawn my picture, put down my average, and then start adding my standard deviation and start by subtracting it. Those percentages are always going to be the same, right? And I just got that from the formula sheet. And then it's going to tell me between which numbers am I looking at, right? So this particular problem we did was telling me between 1,400 and 2,000. My point is that tomorrow you could have the same question, and instead of between 1,400 and 2,000, suppose it said between 1,100 and 23,000, right? Or I'm sorry, 2,300. So what you would do is you'd say, you know what? I got to take these percentages here, and I got to add them up. Well, I already know that those two in the middle is 68, and then I'm going to add 13 and a half and another 13 and a half, and now I'm looking at 95%, right? And then I would kind of do my problem the same way, but instead of multiplying it by 0.68, now I'm going to multiply by 0.95, right? It's just going to depend on the problem, but the idea and how to do the problem is the same way. All right, so good. That was number 26. I'm sorry, somebody asked me, who was it? Was it 28 or was it 29? I don't remember which one it was.
It was 28.
28. Okay, perfect. Let's do 28. So guys, this is a good question. It's telling me to use the box and whisker plot to identify the 5-number summary. Okay, so the minimum is just the lowest number that we have here. So my minimum here is going to be what, 11? And then my Q1, this is going to be my Q1 right here, which is 13. Let's see, my Q2 is going to be this dot right here, which is my 15. My Q3 is my 17, and my max is 19. I'm just using those numbers that are right there on the picture. Any other questions, guys, y'all might have out of the review? Anybody?
Did you do one on that popular, what is it, the variances or something like that?
Yeah, definitely. Let me pull that up, and we will do that. So let's see. Did I pass it already? I think I passed it. Median. Here we go. Okay, so I'll tell you what. Let's try number 24 because 25 is the same type of problem. All right. So for this problem here, guys, I'm going to use my calculator to do this problem. So let me see. Okay. So I'm going to walk y'all through the process. Now, guys, I'm going to do this on my calculator that's on my computer. But if you're using your calculator app, it's going to work exactly the same way. Okay. It's going to work exactly the same way. So, guys, I want to give you a heads up. I'm going to look at these numbers here, the 2, the 10, the 15, 3, 14, 6, 15, 8, 5, and 9. I'm going to use those numbers when I'm doing my problem, okay? So let me do this, and let me clear this out. And I'm going to pull up my calculator for you guys in a second so that you can see it. So give me one quick second here. Okay. Let's see. All right, so let me stop sharing this with you guys and let me share the calculator so you can see it. Okay. And okay, so guys, whether I'm using this calculator or like if you have one like this from high school or if you have that calculator app, the way I'm going to do it, it's going to be the same way. It doesn't matter if you have this or the app. If you want to follow along with the app, you're more than welcome to do so because the process is going to be the same way. Okay, so what I'm going to do, it's already on. I'm going to hit the button right here that says Stat. So it's the second button from the coming down, right, kind of where that alpha button is over 2 spaces to the right. And then I'm going to hit number 1, which says Edit. And I got my list here. So those numbers are on my problem. I'm going to start entering them in. So I'm going to hit 2, Enter, 10, Enter, 15, Enter, 3, Enter, 14, Enter, 6, Enter, 15, Enter, 8, Enter, 5, Enter, and 9, Enter. Okay, I got my numbers there. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to hit Stat again, and I'm going to click my little right arrow so I go to Calculate. I'm going to hit number 1, which says the one variable stats, and I'm just going to hit Enter right here. Okay, so a couple things I'm going to do now. I'm going to stop sharing the calculator, and I'm going to come back to my particular problem so you can see what it is we're going to do. We're going to use those numbers in a second, but I'm going to come back to my problem here. And let's see, I think you guys can see this now. Yes. Okay, so first thing we got to do, we got to find the range. Well, we already know how to find the range, right? Remember, it's the max number minus the minimum number. What is the biggest number in that set? Anybody know? What's the biggest number in our set there for number 24? Let's see, I heard somebody put in the chat. Let's see, 15, excellent, good. So we're going to put 15 minus the smallest number is, anybody know? Anybody know? Don't be shy. 2, good, perfect, excellent. So my range is just going to be 13. Easy breezy cover girl, right? I didn't need anything to do from that, just subtract. Now, we're going to find what we call our population mean, our population variance, and our population standard deviation. Okay, so my population mean, guys, in my problem on my calculator is going to be my X bar. So I'm going to stop sharing this. I'm going to share the calculator with you guys one more time. Okay. So let's see. My calculator should be popping up. There it is. If you look at the top of the calculator, do you see where it has an X and a bar? And I'm coming up with 8.7. That is my mean. So on my note, on my formula sheet, I'm sorry, on my review, I'm going to write the number 8.7. Okay. Let me stop sharing this. Let me come back to the review. And we're going to look for population variance, and we're going to look for population standard deviation. Okay, so population standard deviation is going to be the number that's going to look like this. That's going to be my population standard deviation. And if you notice, it says round to the nearest tenth. Okay, so let me stop sharing this piece here. Let me come back to the calculator. And let's see. Here it is. Okay, so if you notice, guys, let's see. This number, let me see if I can get it for you right here. There's that little O with the X. That's my sigma. That's my population standard deviation. I need to round that number to 1 decimal point because it says round to the nearest tenth. So 4.56 would actually be the number 4.6, right? So let me stop sharing this and let me come back to my review. So let's see. Okay, so right here, I'm going to write down the number 4.6. Now, you might say, well, how do I get to my population variance? It's going to be that number that we got squared. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to take 4.6 and I'm going to square it. So in your calculator, you can just do 4.6 times another 4.6. And it tells me round it to the nearest tenth also. So tenth is 1 decimal place. The number that I came up with was this one right here. So if I'm going to round to my nearest tenth, that's my tenths position. So 21.2. Okay. And there's my range, my population mean, my population variance, and my standard deviation. Good, good, good. Any other questions on the review that you want me to look at? Anybody? Anybody? No? No more questions? Are we good? Let's see. I think I heard something in the chat. Let's see. Let's go back over here. 29. Okay, let's take a look at 29. Perfect. Let me come back to number 29. Okay, here we go. So let me share this with you guys. Share the screen, application window, number 29. Okay, so it says find the, let me see, make sure that you guys can see it. There we go. Okay, find the 5-number summary and draw a box and whisker plot of the data. Okay. All right, so guys, for number 29, let's see. First thing I'm going to do is we're looking for the minimum value. So if I just look at my numbers here, what's the smallest number that we have in our set? It looks like it's 2, right? So my minimum is going to be 2, okay? And then I'm going to look at this last part here, the maximum. What is the biggest number that we have in our set? So if I look here, the biggest number appears to be 9, right? Now, for these next parts, the Q1, the Q2, and the Q3, what I'm going to do here, guys, I'm going to use my calculator again, and basically the same thing that we did a little while ago with the other problem, that whichever one it was. I already forgot which one it was we just did. For number 24, we're going to do that same process for number 29. Okay, so let me stop sharing this piece here, and I'm going to share with you guys my calculator again. And let me see. I think you guys can. Okay, you can see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go second quit, right, or exit clear. Okay, I'm going to come back to stat. I'm going to go to number 1, which says edit, and I want to clear this out. I don't want those numbers anymore. So if I go up to the top where it says L1, and I hit clear, and then I hit enter, everything is now cleared out for me. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the numbers that we had in our particular problem. And so the first number was 3. enter. 8, enter. 8 again, enter. 4, enter. 2, enter. 9, enter. 8, enter. 7, enter. 9, enter. 6, enter. 9, enter. 3, enter. 2, enter. 6, enter. 2, enter. 9, enter. 8, enter. 7, enter. 7, enter again. And finally 9, enter. Okay, so now I got all my numbers here. All right. Then I'm going to go ahead and hit stat one more time. I'm going to come back to calculate, and I'm going to hit number 1, my one variable stats, and I'm just going to hit enter again. Okay, so these are kind of the same things we came up with earlier, but I want you to notice here, I have this little down arrow on my calculator. So I'm going to start clicking on it, and I want you to notice something. It even gave me my minimum for me, right? Didn't we say our minimum was 2? And didn't we say our maximum was 9? And then I want you to notice there's a Q3, there's the MED, and there's a Q1, an MED, and a Q3. Those are my Q1, Q2, and Q3, okay? So I'm gonna stop sharing this with you guys, and I'm gonna come back and bring up the review one more time so that you guys can see it, and there it is. And I'm just gonna use those numbers that I came up with on my calculator. So the minimum we already said was 2. My Q1, what I had on my calculator was 3.5. Let's see. And then my median, which is my Q2, was 7. And my Q3, I want to say, was 8.5. Okay. So those are those numbers right there. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to see, using these numbers that we have here, oops, these numbers that we came up with here, which of those numbers best fits my graphs, okay? So first thing I need to do is I need to say, okay, which ones have, say, a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 9? And, well, it looks like they all kind of do, right? Okay, so that's not going to help me too much. And then what I need to figure out, okay, well, then let me see if I can figure out which ones have a Q1, a Q2, and a Q3 of 3.5, 7, and 8.5. Okay, so I'm going to scroll in a little bit here. So if you notice, guys, when I look at, like, say, choice A, this number here is 3. Well, that's not the number that I want. I want 3.5. So I know that choice A is not one for me. So then if I scroll to B, well, hey, look, there's my 3.5. Okay, that's looking pretty good. My median was a 7. That's looking pretty good. And my Q3 is an 8.5. So it looks like choice B is going to be my best answer, right? It's okay. And so that's how I'm basically going to do number, what number was this? 29? Yeah, that was number 29. Okay. Good deal, good deal. Any other questions anybody has for me about anything from the review, guys? Going once, going twice? Okay, so let me stop sharing the screen here. And so again, guys, tomorrow, what you guys will do is, you know, you'll sign into the whatever team session you're going to have. I'm going to send you guys some instructions. Actually, let me do that now. But I'll give you guys those instructions. So formula sheet. Let me see. Formula sheet is in the week 7, 8 folders, as well as the last announcement. Here we go. And so I'll actually show you where you can get that right now. So let me do one more thing. Let's see. Let's go here. Here we go. Okay, and I think you guys can. Yes. Okay, so let me see. I think you guys can see this now. So if you scroll here, guys, to weekly activities, and you scroll down and you click on week 8. Let me make sure it's popping up for you. There you go. And then all you're going to do right here, guys, when you click on this part, make sure you click on download original file. Okay, and then you can find the formula sheet right there. Guys, here is the link to the sign-in sheet. So if you don't know where it is, it's right here. And if you click on that, it opens up a new window. And let me stop sharing this, and then I will share that piece with you guys so you can see it también. And let's see. Here we go. And so we got a few people signed up already. So make sure if you haven't yet signed up, click on that link, and then you'll just put your name wherever you want. Okay, don't erase anybody else's name. Just put yours wherever you feel like you want to do it. Whether you want to do it tomorrow at 10 or tomorrow night at 6:30. Okay. So, all right, let me stop sharing that with you guys. Let's see. So, anyway, that's pretty much it for tomorrow, guys. You know, like I said, I'm gonna send out this video. And guys, if you just go to like my YouTube page, you should be able to find another review that I did for my other class the week before. So it's the same, you know, I went over some of the similar questions. I might have done another question or two, and we might have done, you know, a question or two that I didn't do over there. But I'll send you guys both those links so that you guys will have both reviews from what we did. But if y'all don't have any other questions, we're done for tonight. Anybody got any other questions about anything? No.
I had a quick question on the classes I'm taking the math co-requisite and the remedial.
Everybody is. Yeah, everybody is. Everybody is.
So do we disregard for the, you know how when you go under courses, there's 2 classes for math under course.
That's right. So for the last couple of weeks, ever since weeks 1 and 2 and 3, everything was in the other one.
Okay.
From weeks 4 and on, it's going to be in this class here.
Okay, yeah, because I keep checking to see if there's like new things.
Yeah, for the other class, we're not going to be. And that's why, guys. So let me share one more thing with you guys so you can see. Let's see. Let's see. I'll tell you. I'll put it this way. So let me share it this way so y'all can see it. Okay. Okay, so guys, if you notice when we're on our page here, like when we first, like I just put those 2 links up today, but that's why I said, you know, to get started, go to that course. And so everything was in that course. And even if you clicked on the week 1 here, it would tell you, hey, for the first 3 weeks, everything is going to be in that class, right? Materials starting in week 4 will be in this class, right?
Okay.
And that's why week 4 and on is going to be over here. Okay, we're going to do one more thing in that other class, but it's going to be like last week in April, first week in May. So we won't do anything in that class for a long time. Okay, it'll just kind of be sitting there chilling, but y'all don't need to worry about it. Everything y'all should be doing should be in this class here. All right, good deal, good deal. Any other questions anybody has about anything? No, you don't got to turn in the formula sheet. Just assignment 1. That's right. Just assignment 1, guys. Make sure you guys do turn it in. So if y'all don't have any other questions, guys, we can go ahead and sign off. I am going to stop recording the session.